Nancy Pelosi wanted to re-up a full unemployment benefits for the people who are out of work because of COVID. Just keep that rolling. And as we did during the last care package that was passed, give them, the average unemployed person, $600 over and above all the unemployment benefits they were already getting. This is a staggering thing. I'm Dr. Duke, and this is Constitution Corner. Well, thanks for joining me today. We are coming up on 3 months from one of the most consequential elections in the history of the United States. Is it going to be Donald Trump for all his flaws, all his bluster, or is it going to be can't come out of his basement Joe Biden, he of cognitive decline, he of 40 years, 50 years in the halls of Congress, 45, 50 years, career politician, oversaw some of the worst changes in our government with regards to the Constitution in the history of the Republic. It's not much of an election if you think about it that way. I mean, we've got one guy, Donald Trump, who plays fast and loose with the Constitution at times, and I'm going to talk about one of those times today, versus somebody, Joe Biden, who wouldn't recognize the Constitution if you chopped it up and fed it to him in little pieces. So let's talk about these relief packages that are going back and forth between Pelosi's Congress and the Republicans in the Senate and Donald Trump. And so we had a really remarkable thing happen last week. Donald Trump got tired of wrangling with a dishonest Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi was never trying to pass relief primarily for the American people. What she was doing was trying to bail out the big liberal Democrat cities that suffered the most COVID because of the population density, but also those big city Democrat-run mayoral cities that burned down, that did not seek to fight against the looters, the arsonists, the pillagers, the rioters. And so Trump held the line really well. The federal government, Trump basically said, is not going to pay Minneapolis to rebuild itself after Minneapolis had the National Guard, had local police, and they were not allowed to stop the chaos. Same thing goes for Los Angeles. Same thing goes for New York City and now for Chicago and Atlanta. The federal government is not going to be responsible for constitutionally irresponsible mayors and governors of states who didn't do what they needed to do to provide for the common defense and to promote the general welfare. We're not going to do it. And when you boil the numbers down, the thing that gets me so frustrated about this, what was the sticking point that stopped the Democrats and the Republicans from agreeing on some kind of another multi-trillion-dollar stimulus package that goes to families to help them out in this difficult time? First of all, is it even necessary? Is it the job of the presidency? Is it the job of government to come up with these kinds of care packages to the American people, especially ones that haven't been necessarily voted through Congress in the normally appropriated way by the Constitution? Well, it may seem like a lot of fuss and feathers. The mainstream media is going to spin this. This is Donald Trump refusing to help out the struggling in our society. Trump and the conservatives will turn around and say, well, wait a second. This is helping people, but not in the way you want. We're helping people with what the Republicans want to do. You want to bail out big state governments. The real dangerous precedent being set here is the difference between the two sides, literally, is about $200 a month. Nancy Pelosi wanted to re-up a full unemployment benefits for the people who are out of work because of COVID. Just keep that rolling. And as we did during the last care package that was passed, give them, the average unemployed person, $600 over and above all the unemployment benefits they were already getting. This is a staggering thing. You're literally now paying people, Republicans and Democrats, you're paying unemployed people $600 more in it was already a pretty generous unemployment package. The question becomes, who's going to want to go back to work? Most of the unemployed people getting an extra $600 a month on top of their full unemployment benefits is not going back to a job where they're going to be making that money back. Or it's going to be so close where you're telling me I'm going to go back to work 40 hours a week and make another $200. And so Trump and Pelosi, to show you where the danger our Constitution is in from this kind of gross spending, the mainstream media would have you believe that there was this huge rift between Pelosi and Trump. And in reality, we're talking about $200. Nancy Pelosi wants to completely re-up the complete unemployment package, plus keep the $600 extra. Trump wanted to offer $400 extra instead of the $600 extra. So I suppose if what you want is fiscal responsibility, Donald Trump is $200 a person, perhaps more responsible than Nancy Pelosi and the Congress. I mean, that's simplifying things a little bit. There are more angles to this than that. But what the depressing story is that when it comes to spending money, when it comes to our resources, managing our resources appropriately, let the feds be in charge only of what the feds should be in charge of, which is very little. Protect those borders, account for our military. It's pretty much it. And let the states then, who are already behaving unconstitutionally by not protecting property, letting it burn, and then demanding the federal government pay it out. You can see when the Constitution is turned on its ear how fast it trickles down. The collapse begins at some instances at the federal level, or at least the most obvious collapse begins at the federal level. You can see how that begins to affect states now, and now you can see how local cities like Chicago have dug themselves huge holes, and there's no hope for them unless there's another unconstitutional, huge federal budget. Well, don't just know your Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to live it. That goes for you, Nancy, and that goes for you, Don. This has been Liberty News Hour. As always, you can go to thenewamerican.com and jbs.org for more information on these topics, as well as more shows.